As a transition to the participant most awaited first plenary session, we are now welcoming our moderator for this session, Miss Titi. Miss Titi already in the Zoom yet?
Yeah, I'm here. Hi,
All right,
Emil.
Miss
Hi,
Titi is a
Arthur.
lecturer in our Industrial and System Engineering Department in ITS. All right, without further ado, Miss Titi, the Zoom is yours.
Okay, thank you, MC. So for today's presentation, I will be your facilitator. Firstly, my name is Rahmat Istifarin. You can call me Titi or Rahma. For today's presentation, I welcome Professor Marzena. Are you here? Professor?
Yes. Good morning. I am here, of course.
Oh, good morning, Professor. Here is already afternoon. So firstly, I will welcome you to ITS virtually. So I hope you can come to Indonesia next time.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Okay, so I will read Professor Marzena resume. So Professor Marzena Frankowska is professor from Poland, and she's associate professor in University of Szczecin, Poland, Institute of Management and Department of Logistics. She does her PhD in economics in University of Szczecin, Poland, Institute of Management. And then her expertise are in supply chain management, lean manufacturing, global value chain, industrial cluster, and internationalization. So today's topic is about smart manufacturing and industry 4.0. It is very familiar with Professor Marzena, and we will get so many things from her. So before the presentation begin, I will tell you about how the presentation will going. So Professor have 45 minutes for the presentation. And after that, there will be Q&A session for 10 minutes. And the participant freely type your question in the Slido that will be shared by the committee in the comment box. And I will choose 3 most interesting questions that we will discuss together. Okay. Professor Marzena Frankowska, are you ready?
Just a moment, please.
Okay.
I don't know why I have some problems here. Just a moment. I think we have still 4 minutes left.
Okay, it's okay.
Yes?
Take your time. So in the comments box, participant can fill the question in the Slido that shared by the committee. So if you have question in the middle of the session, feel free to type your question.
Just a moment, because I have. I cannot see my monitor properly. I don't know why.
Do you want help me to share your slide, Professor?
Just a moment.
Okay.
I'd like to leave, but even though I cannot see, how can I leave from this? Okay, 1 minute. I have to restart my computer because I have strange mode of presentation, and I cannot see even the button for leave this. Just maybe here.
Okay.
maybe here. Okay.
So I will tell you something for the participant. If you have any question, your activity will be written by the committee and you will get the point. So be active. If professor have want to, I can help you to share the screen if you want, but it's okay. You can take your time.
Thank you. Yeah, okay, so maybe we can, maybe I could send you my presentation because I cannot find a way to share the presentation now. I can see that I have some problems with security.
Okay, I will send you my email in the type box. You can send me your, yeah, I already send my email.
Okay, you can see it. Okay, just a moment. Okay, please check. I already sent it.
Still not in my mailbox.
Yeah, maybe now.
Okay.
Yeah, that's always better to check the connection before the presentation in order to avoid the situation?
I already received the
Yeah.
presentation. Wait a moment, I download it.
Mhm.
Okay, committee, please let me share the screen. Okay.
Okay, thank
Is
you
it the
very
right
much, Annette.
slide?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Okay, the time is yours, 45 minutes.
Okay, and tell me, and that way I will ask you to move the slides, yes?
Okay.
Or just because I think I cannot change the slides, yes? Okay, so we may start. So I'm sorry, I can't see. Okay, that's
Okay.
okay. Thank you very much. So I will ask you to just change the slides, okay? So thank you very much once again for invitation. I'm very honored to be here and take part of Ingenious Summer Camp this year. The title of my presentation is Organization, Structure and Leadership for Industry 4.0. We can move to the next slide. Thank you. And the brief agenda for this presentation is introduction to the Industry 4.0. Then I will talk about industrial organization structure through history. Then we will pass to the digital transformation process and model of digital maturity of Industry 4.0. And finally, we will discuss the leadership, the topics of leadership in Industry 4.0. So next slide, please. Okay, so we will start with introduction. Next slide. I am aware that you probably know a lot about Industry 4.0, so this slide is at the beginning of almost every presentation, but it is important to know at which stage we are already now. So we start this era of Industry 4.0. Next slide, please. And Industry 4.0, it is always connected with 4 elements, like a smart technology, smart factory, smart products and services, but also smart supply chain. These 4 elements consist or create the smart industry, which has a big impact of smart economy and society. Okay, next, please. And I don't know if you have the same impression that I have, that when we talk about Industry 4.0, we always talk about technologies. So we have to admit that the progress in technologies is huge. And when we talk about Industry 4.0, we talk always about big data, cloud computing, 3D printing, additive manufacturing, or augmented reality, robotic, and so on and so on. But next slide, please. Yeah, this Industry 4.0, it's not always, and it's not only the technology. The technology are very important, but not only. So we have to well understand whole concept of Industry 4.0, which is the complex process of technological and organizational transformation of enterprises, which includes 3 very important elements, like integration of the value chain, the introduction of new business models, and digitization of products and services. So as you can see, this value chain and a new activity of value with value added component and very important. And we have to see that these solutions are possible, of course, thanks to use of new digital technologies, data resources, and new form of communication. But we have to understand that as a network of cooperation. So this network of cooperation and communication, of course, what is new is between people, machine, and devices. Okay, next slide, please. And this process from introducing the Industry 4.0 concept, we call it as digital transformation. Yes, so digital transformation is the integration of digital technology into all areas of businesses, which results fundamental changes of how businesses operated and how they deliver value to the customers. Okay, next slide, please. And here, please, yeah, once again, thank you. Okay, so we have an important question: why do we have to implement digital transformation? And you know, it's not obvious question. It's not obvious question, especially for the industrial managers, because as you will see, digital transformation, it's a kind of disruption. So we have to know what will be if we not implement digital transformation. So what are our motivation? Yeah, it's because we have to win, or maybe we have to survive and strive. Yeah, it's also depend on our environment. Okay, next slide, please. So as I said, yeah, the VUCA word, you probably know this term. When I heard it a few years ago, it was something strange for me, but now I realize that in fact we are living in this VUCA world. So we have a lot of disruption, political pandemic, shortage of resources, which results also the climate changes, and so on and so on, and all of it. It's a kind of disruption, but one of the very important disruption, also challenges in disruption, is this technological changes. So the next slide, please. So for managers, the industrial managers understand very well that digital information is imperative, but this is not clear for them what digital transformation means actually for them. Okay, so what strategy to adopt, what kind of method, where should we introduce the changes, you know, so there's a lot of very important questions because the topic is very complex. Okay, next slide. And we have to be aware about it. And you can see here the McKinsey study related to this barriers to digital transformation. If you can see these 5, the most important barriers, you can see there is the difficulty of coordination actions across different organizational units. There is the lack of courage to push through this radical transformation. There is a lack of necessary talent. This is a chance for you, of course. There are also the concerns about cybersecurity and also the lack of clear business case that justify investment in the IT architecture and IT solutions. So you can see there is a lot of questions, and there is also a lot of fears. Okay, next slide, please. And here you can see this Deloitte also not elaborated, but find out the most important digital transformation challenges. And you can see that just one of them is the IT infrastructure. The rest is the culture, strategy and vision, and organization structure. So you can see that technologies are very important, but how to implement and how to use this technology in order to develop the business strategy and became familiar with all employees in very demanding topics. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, and now I'd like to present you some trip through the history, how this industrial organization were changed during the history. Next slide, please. Okay, you can see here the slide of this fourth industrial revolution, of course, from Industry 1.0 to the Industry 4.0. But you can see also what were also the changes relating to the work, so organization structure too. So at very beginning, so the end of 18th century. So the big achievement, it was the steam engine. Okay, so what was the huge challenge at that time? There were no factories. There were the crafts and the craftsmen and a professional association like a guilds. And then during the first industrial revolution, appears manufacturers and workers' organization. So there is completely changed how we proceed our work, how we produce this value for the customers. So then we have the Industry 2.0, and what is the most important is the electricity power. So you probably know the Frederick Winslow Taylor and Taylorism, yes, and his achievements, scientific achievement, which were introduced to the industry. So instead of having the big steam engine, we had electric power, which allowed us to cap the whole big, not the cap, but organize the process in the line, which became the assembly line at the end. So it started the mass production, and it was a big change, of course. The big change which were introduced at that time. And then we have Industry 3.0 with automation, computers, electronics. And we should know also that besides the technology, it was also the time for the internationalization. Then it was the globalization. But the late 20th century, it's a time of organizing the transnational companies, the global companies. So it started also the different kind of work with the customers, with the customers and companies abroad. And then we have Industry 4.0, and now we are in the centralized and interconnected work. It's changed a lot, even nowadays. When you at university, we use the platforms, we have a remote work. It is very difficult to proceed the leadership at distance. The people don't know where is their personal life, where is their work life, and so on and so on. So this there is a new culture of working also, and sometimes it's very difficult to adapt it. Okay, next slide, please. Yeah, and now I'd like to also give you some examples, the best examples for this fourth revolution, and show you how it's changed also the business, these business models. And these examples come through automotive. So let's have a look. Maybe the next slide, please. So for Industry 4.0, obviously the best example will be the Ford Motor Company. Yeah, so as I said before, electricity would make it possible to organize factories differently and replacing the large central steam engine with a larger number of small independent machines running on electricity. So the big achievements, it's wall assembly line production as a new work method. Okay, so this is the history, but then more recent example. I'm curious if you could know what would be the example from automotive for industry 3.0. So this is not the interactive session, so we can move to the next slide. Yes, it would be Toyota. So Toyota, we give this example for the industry 3.0 because at the end of the 90s, the concept of lean manufacturing appeared. And as you know, Toyota production system developed before, long before the new method of production, of organization, what we call Toyota production system. But it was presented to the world and described to the world by Womack and colleagues, at the end of the 90s, at the beginning of the 90s. So it was like a shock therapy for all over the world, and the concept of Toyota, like just in time, like do it right the first time, like participatory management, was very, very new. Okay, it was very, very new. And this new concept of lean manufacturing, it is what was also very important because the climate of business environment was changing. I mean, the customers demanded more personalization, and the workers, the employees wanted to be trained, and so on and so on. So this concept of lean manufacturing and management were very good at that time. But nowadays, please, the next slide. Nowadays, we have our situation is changed because if we talk about just in time, it's still relevant. But you can see the fragmented, the composite supply chain. We can see the shortage of resources. So this is very critical to stay with low level of inventory, for example. So everything is changed. So generally, we have new challenges with fourth industrial revolution. It's hyper connectivity. As I said, we have a lot of data because we have to establish the connectivity and receive a lot of data from communication, people to machine to devices. We have this exponential progress, probably this Moore law, that every 24 months, the number of IT devices are doubled. Okay, so we have this hyper concentration and product service system because the services support product very well, and sometimes the products are replaced by services. So next slide, please. Yeah, so I could ask you, so who will be the Toyota of the fourth industrial revolution? Which company from automotive sector could be this one who will show us how to adapt the better, who will more agile, more connected, and capable to innovation with new technologies? And the answer is, next slide, please. It is probably Tesla and the new factory of Tesla. Next slide, please. So Tesla is, it's not the biggest manufacturer car company in United States, but we can say that Tesla is on the way to becoming this automotive leader, because they have a higher level of hybridization between digital and industrial, and we can see that Tesla inspire a lot of people, a lot of also industrial companies and automotive companies. And Therefore, we think that the new structure that Tesla proposed could be influencing the new business model in the near future. Next slide, please. Yeah, so what is the model of Tesla? So basically, they introduced, the business model is based on 3 steering wheels. The first one is the outside, is directed outside of the company. The second one's in the inside company, but at the core of the system is rapid learning ability. And there are also the 7 principles. And next slide, please. We can please have a look of the model. So you can see this first steering wheel, as I say, directed to the outside of the company. Then we have inside the steering wheel, and in the middle, the core skill and competences. It's learning. It's learning, and it is very important because the slogan of new strategy, business strategy for organization of Tesla is understanding is a prerequisite. So we have to understanding, and we have to learn and adapt. Yeah. So there are also, as you can see, this principle, which is obviously connected with interconnection, with agile system. But you can see this on the top, story making, which is very interesting. You can see this is inspiring the world, yet keeping one's feet on the ground. So we have to go forward, we have to inspire other people, but we're still on the ground. So we keep our economic also results in control. Okay, next slide, please. Yeah, so this is just for inspiration where we are going, but the important question is also how digitally transformed are we and where we have to go. So this is the question for the companies. Next slide, please. And you can find in the literature a lot of different approach to this transformation process. Most of them is built like you know, some steps. So we start with the very basic one when we have the function which are isolated, not connected, and then we go to the more and more integrated systems with internal integration. Then we have business process on network redesign. So we try to connect it, the processes. We try to connect it also our network, the very close network, so the main suppliers, the main the closest customers, and then we go further to this business scope redefinition, experience transformation, changing the experience of the customer. So we digitalize more and more our products or services, and finally business model transformation. We go to the business model transformation. So this is the high level of this digital transformation process. And next slide, please. And what is important is always look at our company as not isolated islands, but in perspective of network organization. Yeah. So what is important nowadays that before, let's say, in the kind of industry 3.0, we could observe, we could analyze our connection with outside of our companies as a supply chain, like a linear supply chain. Yeah. So it was that kind was built global value chain also. But now it is more complicated, it is more complex. We are in the network and also in digital network. So we have this much more connectedness. Okay, next slide, please. And next slide. Yeah, because this change, And next slide. And because we have to, we should observe this changing, as I said, in the technology, as the change of technology, but also the change of doing business, of our business strategy and organization of our company. So here you can find 3 models of digital driven supply chain. So how to organize our business in connection with different stakeholders. So the first and the most popular model, it's a platform model. So you can see that the supply chain where the information flow has the hub and spoke model. So it is the main company model is available in the real time to all partners cooperating in this model, and its level and scope are controlled by the process coordinator, so the owner of the supply chain management process. Okay, and the leading technology here of this ecosystem is cloud computing. So the second one is distributed model, where the flows are decentralized, distributed nature without a clear integrate and coordinating the scope and scale of information flow. And here for this ecosystem, the leading technology is a blockchain. And then we have the centralized model, which is very often presented, not very often, but which can work for supply chain. So it's both platforms and networks, and platforms can be built in supply chain both horizontally and vertically, integrating partners around a given project or process. And here we have Internet of Things as the key ecosystem here. Okay, next slide, please. But also for the companies, you know, what kind of help we can give to the companies with this complex and demanding process of digital transformation. So there are also maturity models of digital transformation. What is important now that maturity model now it's not assessing you know, a result. But today, maturity model, this is the models of process to the way of achieve some level, let's say, of perfection. So several years ago, the maturity model was for assess where you are and are you the best or not. Today, it's to define where are you and what should you do to achieve the reference model. Okay, so next slide, please. Okay, so this maturity model of digital transformation are developed to help businesses, to managers, to help them to understand where they must begin with the transformation process and when they are presently. Next slide, please. And you can find the different approaches to developing maturity models of digital transformation. So you have here some examples. And next slide, please. Because I'd like to show you the example of model of digital maturity in Industry 4.0, which is developed in Poland. So we have a kind of the future industry platform, which is a governmental agency for implementing Industry 4.0 in Poland. Next slide, please. And just a few words about how this model is built. So there is 3 pillars: organization, processes, and technologies. And each pillar consists of 4 modules, which are made up of components. So in total, we have 3 pillars, which includes 12 main modules and 20 components. And these components represent the critical aspects for companies and in order to become a future-proofed organization within this Industry 4.0 reference model. And next slide, please. You can find here this three pillars: organization, process, and technologies. Then we have modules, as you can see, and components. And sometimes a module have just one component, and sometimes it's two or more. For example, if you can see at process and integration with environment, you can see this integration with environment have two components. So for example, implementation of the supply chain and cooperation with the client. Yeah. Okay, and next slide, please. Yeah, so you can see here, excuse me, it is in Polish, but it was difficult to translate, but you can guess that we have these three pillars: processes, technology, and organization. I think it's similar that Bahasa Indonesia a little bit. And this model is also, as I said, it's elaborated to help people, help businesses, yeah, business managers. So it's also the model to self-assessed assessment of businesses. So as you will see in the next slide, yeah, we have the question for each component, and company or managers have to respond to the 20 questions, because we have 20 components. For example, question 5: to what extent are data and processes integrated within the various areas of your company's activity? So we have the first one, which is level 0. So processes are managed centrally and implemented ad hoc by employees without the use of advanced IT systems. So this is level 0.1, but this is a level 0. And the most advanced, it's the number 6. Data is comprehensively integrated with related digital tools and systems, and its analysis in real time allows the system to make autonomous decision, for example. And next slide, please. And finally, we have for this question 5, as you can see, the first column, it's the levels of, as I said, the level 0 and the level 5, which is the most advanced. Then we have the characteristic of the level. Then in the middle, we have a column with this question, which you already saw. And if the company, choose the question, for example, of level 2 or level 3 or level 1, for example, then at the last column, we have some kind of recommendation. So when the companies pass through this questionnaire, which is obviously on the platform of Future Industry Foundation, at the end, they receive their score results and also the recommendation when to start, with what start, and what to do. It is also the services of consultancy and so on, of course. Next slide, please. And we also use this questionnaire, this model to conduct some research. Next slide, please. And here you have just the ratings, average ratings of digital maturity in Poland. So maybe next slide, please. As just for these 3 pillars, like organization, process, and technologies, you can see that for organization, it's the best score. Technology, so introducing technology, it's not so good, so even not number the medium level, like 3. Okay, the next slide, please. Yeah, it's a little bit also about leadership. The next slide, please. Yeah, so we talk about the changing organizational structure during this industrial revolution, but we can also observe the changing in leadership. So, for example, as you can see, At the beginning, first industrial revolution, it was the charismatic leadership. Then with Ford Motor Company and the Taylor, it was directive leadership, because it was where the scientific management is coming. So it was the strictly top-down still relation. Then we are moving to the end of the 20th century. So we have this global value chain, we have the network. So we talk about more relational leadership and transactional leadership, because we understand better that the followers of the leader, they should achieve some goals important for the company. And now we have in the fourth industrial revolution. So it is very difficult to say what will be the main leadership style, because we are at the beginning, but now we know some requirements. So we know it should be probably transformational and responsive leadership, which is focused on learning and innovation. Next slide, please. And I'd like to, this leadership 4.0, so we should be more open to innovation, but also in this cultural change, because as I show you at the precedent slides, our work is changing a lot. So it is relating also with culture, organization culture, and we have to well adopt these new changes. Next slide, please. Yeah, and here, I don't know if you are more engineer orientation, so I don't know if you know this leadership grid theory, which is elaborated in 60s, like last century. So it was leadership grid theory defined two dimensions: concern for the production and concern for the people. And based on this leadership grid theory, it was developed for a 4.0 leadership matrix, when we have also two dimensions, so in a concern for innovation and technology, and concern for the people. So next slide, please. And we will have this matrix. Please have a look. We have 4 quadrants, so we have 4 parts as a result. So for example, 4.0 freshman leader, who is it? So this is the manager, the leader, which is focused on very traditional management. So this person has no real orientation for technology, and either for the people. So this is someone who is focused on just on, let's say, manufacturing, meaning in very traditional way. Then we have social leaders. So these are the people who are more oriented for the people, the atmosphere, climate. So it's very good, but they have a little bit a fear to push them to the innovation, to the technology, and they are not how to say very familiar with new technology. On the other side, we have technological leaders. So these are very often the engineer. We push others to the technology. They want to introduce new technology, innovative technology. But there sometimes could be a problem because the other people cannot follow them. So obviously the best will be 4.0 digital leader. And the next slide, please. Okay, so this leader who knows about the importance of people, technologies, and innovation, of course. So can they combine all these axes? So the new technology and the human nature. And next slide, please. And we may also show you or observe some changing in evolution of leadership in supply chain. So within the collaboration of the company. So next slide, please. So from this traditional leadership, when we had this focal company which dominate all over supply chain, dominate other suppliers, collaboration, and so on and so on, and we had this supervisor subordinate relationship. So so it's a very classic, yes. Then next slide, please. Then we had network, integrative leadership in a supply chain, because as I said before, there was a new era of transnational companies. So the supply chain was more expanded also abroad. So there were needed a new form of collaboration. So we can say integrative leadership. So focal company, it was still the most dominant. And then the next slide, please. And then it appeared a new network leadership, because the value chain, the supply chain was so dispersed, also so big, so complex, that the focal company very often take the role of orchestra leader, so orchestration of this network. And there is also, this is the new role for the leadership. And the next slide, please. Yeah, and we have here this, you saw the slide before. So this shift from a linear supply chain to the digital network, and we go in that direction. So this is very interesting. What will be changing in the new future in terms of leadership? Next slide, please. Yeah, this is the very difficult situation, especially for the focal companies. So because if the focal company wants to dominate the other partners, this company should has digital competences. So this is very demanding, and this is very difficult, as you already know. This is not always the case. And next slide, please. So there is a new opportunity for the smaller, for example, supplier who are the digital leader. So sometimes there is the focal company, so we can observe the big transnational cooperation, but they allowed to, or they use some smaller companies to be some network integrator in form of, for example, in form, for example, of platform model. So now we observe if this collaboration in the network and supply chain, very interesting changes. And next slide, please. Yeah, and this is almost the end of my presentation. So if Tesla should inspire us in the future, for the future, so I choose also the Elon Musk, the founder of Tesla and SpaceX, of course. And there is a lot of quotation of Elon Musk, of course, but I like this one, that he have this perspective that he can compare what we already achieve and what it means for the future. So if you could see this quotation, so if you go back a few hundred years, what we take for granted today would seem like magic, being able to talk to the people over a long distance, to translate images, flying, assessing vast amount of data like Oracle. So these are all things that would have been considered magic a few hundred years ago, or even few decades ago. So this is even impossible, we can say, what we achieve now, and it's not the end. That's why there is the clear prescription how organize our business. I would like to just give you some insights and show you that there is some advices, some direction, but at this stage we cannot give the clear perception. There is some help, like you can show with this maturity model, which help us to choose some strategy for our company. But there is not a good prescription, as I said, what to do, exactly how our business model should be. So the next slide, please. Yes, so terima kasih. Dziękuję bardzo. Thank you very much for your attention, and excuse me for this organizational problem.
Okay, it's okay. Thank you, Professor. Terima kasih banyak juga. So, okay, I will go to question and answer session. Let me open the Slido firstly. So, okay, there are some questions. I will read for you, Professor. So,
Okay.
from there are no name here. So, Professor Frankowska, what do you think about the assumption that technology could replace people in the company or organization?
Okay, the technology could replace people in the company or organization. Yes, I think, thank you for this. Yeah, I think this is a question, which is the example of our concerns about the future, about artificial intelligence and so on. So I'd like to say that I am quite optimistic in that field, and I think that obviously our work will change, the kind of work, the scope of work, but I think that technology, we will be more efficient, but it won't replace us. So we will have to produce or not produce but work in another way. So we will have to use more our creativity, maybe in some cases also decision making, but it is obvious that a lot of repeated work, let I say, or standardized work will be taken by the robots, for example, or algorithms. Now we'd like to, we have, I can tell you the example of, this is the very first stage of the studies, but for example, for robotics, the robot are even collaborative robot are work always with, let's say, healthy people. Okay, but we used to do some experiment, and we liked to make working with robots the people which who has some some shortcomings, some limits, in terms of healthy. And it was very, very interesting, but in the end, I cannot going into detail, but at the end we can say that working with this collaborative robot work a kind of therapy for this kind of people. Okay, so the world will changing, but and I hope it will be still the work for us.
Yes, there is still work for us. Okay, thank you for the answer. So I will continue to read the second question. Based on your experience, is there any guidelines what kind of industrial sector that not really fit with organization 4.0?
Okay, this is also an interesting question. What kind of industrial sector fit with organizational? I think it's, let's say, it's a kind of maturity, because if we if we think, for example, something which is very traditional, for example, agriculture. Yeah, we might say that agriculture, it's always it's very traditional. The way we, for example, I cannot find the word, but on the other hand, I know this is we have very innovative technology. Even in Bali, I saw the information that it's probably Netherlands startup from Netherlands in cooperation with local producer from Bali, who invent very innovative technology in terms of studying the temperature, the number of fertilizers, the kind of fertilizers, and so on and so on. And I know also this kind of innovation is already done in Europe, in Netherlands, also in Spain, for example. So we have this climate changing, so we have no water or a lot of water. So it's changed. So this innovation has to come also to this very traditional sector. So I really don't know, is there any sector which can survive without this new technology? I'm not sure. I don't know if I answer to your question, but I think that's all sector will have to transform themselves.
Okay. I think so too. Thank you. Okay, next question is, what is the first step that needs to be done by a company in order to be digital leader in the supply chain?
Okay, first step, digital for supply chain. Yeah, the first step, obviously, with supply chain, this is already very complex, because supply chain, so we have our internal production processes. So let's say that we have already the data, that we are already internal connected. So then the first thing, it's the connection with our customers and our suppliers. So now it's depend within what kind of supply chain we are operating. So if we operating supply chain customer driven, so we should connect very closely with our customers. So I think about connection with for example, the ERP system, and if we are, for example, the assembly plant, so it will be very important for us to be very well connected with our suppliers. So have this traceability, for example, of the product, or at least have connected warehouse system with our suppliers in order to well organize the supply for our production processes. Okay, so it will be, I think, the very first step.
Okay. So we need to connect our warehouse system with the suppliers.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I will choose another question because we still have time. As you mentioned in ideal type of 4.0 leadership, could you please elaborate the initiative that must be done to become ideal leader? Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, with leadership, the problem is that we have ourselves, our features. Okay, so our features. So naturally, we can be more or less oriented to the people or through the technology. I think the young people, the young engineers, of course, they are oriented very well to the technology, but sometimes it's very difficult to work with the people, explain them what is important, why we should do this. In the new organization, what is very interesting, there are more multi or interdisciplinary teams. So, for example, when the marketing or logistics try to invent something, they work with production manager, supplier manager, and so on, and somebody also from finance, for example. So they work in the collaborative team in order to know the different point of views, different conditions of for inventing something. So I think this new leadership, it's no more that I tell you what you have to do, but it's more to give you the different insights, different reflection, and asking the questions, try to define the right way where our organization has to go. So I think that even more here than before, it's learning, it's hearing the people, what they want to say, in order to define also some barriers for, especially for the organization, for the technology, developing, introducing the technology, and learning a lot from our competitors and other sectors, for our environments. Okay.
Thank you. Okay, for the last question, I want to read this. As far as I know, we only required to build smart industry, but also sustainable industry. Can this digital transformation actualize green industry as well?
Okay, well, what was the question? Could you show me?
This is the first one.
Okay, the first one. As far as I know, to build a smart industry, but also sustainable industry. Can digital actualize green industry as well? Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course. This is very, very important topic now. However, as everything is very complex, because for example, you know that the smart technology use also the very limited resources. For example, when we talk about this transition to this sustainable energy, it is a problem for us because in order to build the new wind farm, for example, photovoltaics and so on, we have to use the very limited resources, which is not good. Yeah, clearly saying so. Sometimes we have this like a trade-off problem because we cannot use the old traditional methods. Sometimes they are based on the fossil fuels and so on. So we have to move to the green. Green is always also smart. But for doing that, we have to use another kind of our let's say global resources, which is sometimes which are protected or very or very limited. But I think there is, for example, in terms of using, for example, a paper. We cannot print everything. We have these electronic documents which allowed us to economize, for example, the paper. We have a lot of smart technologies which allowed us to economize the water, for example, or so yeah, I'm definitely persuaded that smart means green or should mean green, and it helps us to better understand also the environment. But we have to be very careful with that. Yeah.
Okay, Professor Frankowska, thank you. This is the last question. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming, and let me read some short conclusion about this topic. So, Professor Frankowska already explained about Industrial 4.0 in terms of organization transformation with digital transformation. So, she's telling us about the history of industrial revolution. First industrial revolution, it is there are steam machine, and then second industrial revolution there is a Ford, Toyota, and now Tesla will be our guideline to know about industrial 4.0. There are three pillars to implement the organization transformation: the organization, process, and technology. To become more, the leadership 4.0 is more open about innovation and cultural change, and the leader of digital leader should makes people more and technology more. And from the question and answer session, we see that digital transformation will not replace us, but we will work together more efficient in the future. Okay.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you
very much. Thank you for your help, most of all, the presentation.
Okay.
Yeah, as always, it was a great pleasure to be hosted by ITES Surabaya, whole Indonesia. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much to Professor. We will see you later. And thank you for the speaker for informative and interesting presentation, and participant for all of the interesting question. Finally, give virtual applause for us and for our speaker.
Thank you very much. Thank you. All the best for the students.
All the best for you too. So, and I give the Zoom back to MC. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.